Imagine a world where 40 million people vanished. That's the estimated death toll of the Mongol conquests. It's a number so vast it actually cooled the planet's climate. Most of you know the name Genghis Khan. You know the blood. You know the terror. But what you're about to hear is a different story. You never learned this in school. We're going beyond the slaughter. By the end of this journey, you'll discover how a nomad created the first global trade network. You'll see the rare artifacts that prove the Mongols were masters of administration. Finally, you'll uncover the secret cultural blueprint that shaped the modern world. Was he just a monster of history? Or was he the architect of our globalized age? The truth is far more complex than the legends suggest. Stick with me. We're about to rewrite everything you think you know about the Great Khan. Let me set to understand the storm. We've got to look back further than any single lifetime. We're talking about a cycle of power and collapse that spans millennia. Back in 2024 BC, the early foundations of organized statehood were already shifting in the Near East, creating a world where city walls meant survival. For centuries, these walled cities grew arrogant, believing their stone fortifications made them untouchable. Decades before the Mongol rise, the Silk Road had already woven a fragile web of gold and silk across the continent. This set off a chain reaction of greed and desire. The trade routes didn't just move goods, they moved ideas and ambitions. By the time the Han dynasty consolidated power in China around 206 BC, the tension between the sedentary farmers and the nomadic riders reached a breaking point. It's a classic clash of civilizations. The settled world viewed the nomads as barbels, while the nomads saw the cities as ripe for the taking. This mutual hatred fueled a cycle of raiding and retaliation that lasted for centuries. Each clash refined the art of horse archery. Each war taught the steppes how to fight as one. By the time we hit the early 12th century, the fragmented tribes of Mongolia were no longer just fighting for grazing land. They're fighting for survival in a brutal landscape where you're either the predator or the prey. Temujin, the boy who'd become Genghis Khan, was born into this chaos. He didn't just survive the blood feuds of the steppes. He mastered them. He took the fragmented remnants of a broken society and fused them into a singular, lethal weapon. The world's ignorance was its downfall. They ignored the signs of a unifying force. Pure, raw ambition. The stage was set for a conquest that'd dwarf everything that came before. The old borders weren't boundaries, they were targets. The empires of the world had spent 2,000 years building walls, but they'd forgotten that walls only work if the people inside them are stronger than those outside. Now, the strongest force on earth was gathering at their gates. The moment of no return happened in 1206. At a great assembly called a Kurultai, the disparate tribes finally knelt before one man. Temujin wasn't just a chieftain anymore. He was proclaimed Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. This wasn't some minor political shift. It was a seismic event that shifted the axis of human history. For the first time, the nomadic world had a single mind and a single will. Before this, the Mongols were a swarm, dangerous but disorganized. Now, they're a disciplined machine. Genghis didn't just lead by bloodline. He led by merit. He promoted the smartest and the bravest, regardless of their birth. That's what made this moment different. He replaced tribal loyalty with absolute devotion to the Great Khan. The internal wars that had plagued the steppes for generations vanished overnight. In their place emerged a military structure that could move across the landscape with a speed that seemed supernatural to the sedentary world. They didn't just march. They flowed like a tide of iron across the plains. Every horse, every arrow, and every soldier worked in perfect synchronicity. The world's great capitals were still sleeping, unaware that their fate had been sealed in a gathering on the Mongolian plateau. They didn't realize that the rules of engagement had changed forever. The era of the city-state was dead. The era of the empire had arrived. It's the exact point where the map of the world began to bleed. One man's vision turned a collection of tents into a global superpower. Now, we look at the cold, hard evidence of the carnage and the glory. Here is what the records actually show. Genghis Khan's military campaigns were legendary for their speed and efficiency, and in 1211, Khan united nomadic tribes and began his conquests. Within just 46 days, he captured the city of Zhongdu, modern-day Beijing, a feat that stunned the world. This rapidity of movement and conquest is a key aspect of the Mongol strategy, often overlooked. The Mongols were not just a force of brute strength, but a highly organized and disciplined army. The distance covered by the Mongols in their campaigns is also remarkable. They traveled over 6,000 kilometers in just 3 years, a distance that would take a modern army weeks, if not months, to cover. This mobility allowed them to outmaneuver their enemies and strike where they were least expected. The Mongol Empire's expansion was not just about military might, it was also about speed and efficiency. The Mongols could mobilize vast armies, often numbering in the hundreds of thousands, and have them ready for battle in a matter of weeks. This rapid response was a key factor in their success. One of the most shocking facts is the duration of the Mongol Empire's rule is also significant. From 1206 to 1368, the Mongols held sway over a vast expanse of land, a period of 162 years. This longevity is a testament to the stability and efficiency of their rule, despite the common perception of them as a barbaric force. The Mongols' impact on the world was not just military. They also introduced new technologies and systems. For instance, they were one of the first empires to use paper money, a concept that revolutionized trade and commerce. The clash of ideologies and strategies was at the heart of the Mongol Empire's rise. Genghis Khan's vision was to unite the nomadic tribes and create a powerful force that could challenge the existing order. This was a revolutionary idea, as the nomadic tribes had traditionally been seen as savages, lacking the organization and discipline of the sedentary world. Khan's military strategy was a perfect example of this unity. His forces were not just a collection of individual warriors, but a highly coordinated and disciplined army. Every horse, every arrow, and every soldier worked in perfect synchronicity, a testament to the power of centralized leadership. The sedentary world, with its great capitals and city-states, was unprepared for this new force. The Mongols' ability to move quickly and efficiently, and their sheer numbers, overwhelmed their enemies. The era of the city-state was indeed dead, and the era of the empire had arrived. However, it's important to consider that the exhibition at the Royal Armouries Museum aims to shed light on these often overlooked aspects of Genghis Khan's legacy. It highlights the cultural and technological advancements made by the Mongols, as well as their impact on the world. By presenting a more comprehensive view, the exhibition challenges the popular myth that the Mongols were solely a force of destruction. Imagine a dusty street in Nishapur, 1221. It's just after dawn, and a young mother clutches her child's hand, hoping the city walls will hold. They're wrong. By noon, the screaming begins. A soldier named Batu, a veteran of the steppe, doesn't see a city, he sees a target. He's ordered to leave no one alive. He spends his afternoons systematically clearing houses, his blade slick with blood, while a local scholar tries to hide his scrolls under a floorboard. He fails. That scholar's life ends in a heartbeat, his knowledge, burned alongside his home. 17 miles east of the city center, a line of prisoners stretches toward the horizon. Among them is a 23-year-old clerk who'd only wanted to protect his family's farm. He's forced to carry heavy stones to fill the moat of the very city he's helping to destroy. His hands are blistered and bleeding, his spirit broken by the sheer scale of the slaughter. 46 million dead. These aren't just numbers on a page, they're millions of individual tragedies. Think of the terrified silence in a village where every single voice has been extinguished. Think of the children who woke up to find their fathers gone and their worlds reduced to ash. The air smells of smoke and iron. Every step the Mongol horde took left a trail of grief that echoed for generations. It wasn't just a conquest, it was an erasure. Entire lineages vanished in a single afternoon. Families who'd lived in the same valley for centuries were wiped out before the sun set. Pure devastation. The weight of that loss is suffocating, a crushing pressure that defines the darker side of Genghis Khan's ambition. History's trajectory shifted on a handful of singular choices. First, Genghis Khan's decision to unify the warring tribes of the steppe changed everything. Had he been killed during his early struggles for power, the Mongols would have remained fractured, fighting small skirmishes in the grass. Central Asia would have stayed a patchwork of petty chiefdoms instead of a global superpower. Then there's the choice to adopt siege warfare from the Chinese. By recruiting foreign engineers to build catapults, the Mongols could break any wall. If they'd stuck to traditional cavalry tactics, they'd been stopped at the first great city wall they encountered. The vast land empire would have been a mere footnote. Another pivotal moment was the decision to implement the Pax Mongolica. By protecting the Silk Road, they created the first global trade network. If they'd chosen to loot and burn every trade route, the exchange of gunpowder and paper would have stalled. Europe might have stayed in the Dark Ages for another century. Finally, The death of Genghis Khan in 1241 forced the generals to retreat from the gates of Vienna. If the great Khan had lived another year, the Mongol cavalry would have swept across the European plains. London and Paris would have fallen. The cultural map of the West would have been rewritten in a Mongol script. Imagine a world where the English language never developed because the islands were a Mongol province. A different world. These choices didn't just move borders, they reshaped the human experience. One man's will dictated the fate of continents. Each decision was a domino that knocked over the old world to build something terrifyingly new. We're looking at a chain of events that felt inevitable, but it all rested on the whims of a few men. The final legacy and lasting impact are coming up next. The Mongol Empire's sweep across Eurasia wasn't just a military conquest, it was a cultural and political revolution. The empire's rapid expansion, driven by Genghis Khan's strategic brilliance, reshaped the very fabric of the world. Borders, as we know them, are a modern construct. But the Mongol Empire's relentless drive to conquer and unite vast territories laid the groundwork for modern nation-states. The idea of a centralized government, a single authority wielding power over a defined territory, was a Mongol invention. It's a concept that still defines our political landscape today. The Mongol Empire's legacy extends beyond borders. Their legal code, the Yasa, was a brutal but remarkably fair set of laws. It established a system of justice that, while harsh, provided a degree of predictability and order. This concept of codified law, a set of rules applicable to all, is a cornerstone of modern legal systems. The impact of the Mongol Empire can be seen in the very fabric of our global institutions. The concept of a centralized administration, capable of coordinating vast resources and armies, influenced the development of modern bureaucracy. Genghis Khan's empire proved that human nature is capable of both incredible cruelty and remarkable innovation. It demonstrated the power of a single individual to shape the course of history, to create a new world order from the ashes of the old. It's a reminder that the choices of a few can have a profound and lasting impact on the lives of millions, even billions. This documentary has explored the rise of Genghis Khan and the Mongol Empire, revealing a civilization that was both fearsome and innovative. We've seen how their military prowess and strategic genius laid the foundation for modern empires. We've learned about their cultural influence, from art to language, and how their legacy continues to shape our world. The Mongol Empire's impact is far-reaching. From the borders we live within to the legal systems that govern us, their influence is undeniable. It's a reminder that history is not just about the past, it's a blueprint for the future. Which decision do you think changed history the most? If you found this story fascinating, subscribe. We drop new history documentaries every day. And watch our other videos for more untold stories. Follow for more information.